There's a ton at stake week 18 for both the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, but I think it's more at stake for the Detroit Lions. The Lions have more to lose. The Minnesota Vikings at one point in time were the first seed. I believe it was over 25 years ago. The Detroit Lions, however, have never been the number one seed. And after a spectacular year, the best in franchise history, we still have to fight to the last possible moment in order to get what we've essentially earned all year long. But unfortunately, because of the way the NFL is, then it all comes down to this. And right now we have two 14-2 teams. One of these teams will be 15-2, and the other one will be 14-3. The NFL has never had a 14-win team as a wild card. The 1999 Rams did it at 13-3, but the NFL has never had a 14-win wild card team, and that's exactly what's going to happen after the last game of the season, game 272. And the Detroit Lions have a ton to play for. There's so much we have to play for. Although we are undefeated on the road this year, it would take 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl. There's nothing like getting that home field advantage. But Dan Campbell on 97 Won the Ticket said what the most important thing was. And it's kind of funny because I think home field advantage is a big deal. I really do. And I think that is the thing that changes the momentum. Being in Levi Stadium last year and seeing the crowd come alive when their team started to win, I think it makes a difference. But Dan Campbell saw it differently. He said that to him, the best thing was that one less playoff game. If you get a bye week, you have 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. If you get a wild card, you have 3. So I thought that was quite intriguing. But here's what's at stake. We've gone over this a lot. This is coming from NFL on NBC. What's at stake for Sunday Night Football Week 18? The winner of this game is the NFC North champions. The Detroit Lions were last year, the NFC first seed, and the first round playoff bye. So all of that is what's in stake. If they lose, the team that loses is the NFL 5th seed, and they start playoffs on the road. But here's a little note at the bottom. In a result of a tie, the Lions win the division, and that is why the San Francisco 49er game was important. It wasn't meaningless because with that win, the Detroit Lions could afford to tie in this last game of the season and still wind up winning the division. Now, you guys know that I'm a big believer in the NFL narrative, and I think that we are still going to see quite a bit of Matthew Stafford this year, but it's big because right now the LA Rams are the 3rd seed, and last year in both conferences, it was the 3rd and the 1st seeds that were in the NFC and AFC title games. So this is a big game for the Detroit Lions. I am not feeling well at the moment. Came back from California, and I'm not feeling well. The second time in a month that I have been sick, but got to get this content out, and I am going to try my best, drink as much orange juice as possible, take as much over-the-counter stuff as possible, because I want to be there on Sunday. I'm also going to be considerate of others. If I don't feel well or think I have any type of infection, I won't go, but I really do want to get there. I'm going to try to wait to the last possible minute. The good news is I got all Thursday, I got all Friday, and I got all Saturday to feel better. So I'm going to try to be there the best I can. But this is from Justin Rogers, kind of to add to the NFL on NBC, some outcomes that could happen based on Sunday's games. Now, let me ask you this. The NFL will never do this, but I want to ask you. Right now, we've seen, and it's funny because it all comes from the same conference. It all comes from the same conference. If the NFL is not going to realign anytime soon, which we probably won't see, I think eventually we'll get an 18-game season. Eventually, we'll get a team that is out of the country, such as Canada, maybe Europe in some sort. We might do that stuff, right? But what I don't think is going to happen anytime soon is for the seeding way that it's done to be changed in the NFL. They want to reward a division winner. It doesn't matter how bad that division is. And the worst division all the time is the NFC South. We've seen so many teams. I mean, there was a 7-9 Bucks team. I think Tom Brady's last year was a 8-9 Bucks team that they won their division and hosted a home playoff game. I don't know how you would do it in the NFL, but, it's kind of busted. So they'll never change that. That's been probably the biggest complaint that a lot of people in every year. This year, we're not going to have a team under 500 make it to the playoffs. But I think the worst one I saw was there was also a time where the Washington Commanders in 2020, coming from the NFC East, won at like 7-9. It was something crazy. And it might have been, they might have had a worse record than that. Then we saw a Carolina Panthers team. We also saw a team that was 8-7-1 make it. It's just, it's always where a team that is under 500 wins the division. And it is quite ridiculous. I understand it, but it's ridiculous. But here's something else that's at stake for the Detroit Lions and some possible outcomes based off Sunday's game. This is coming from Justin Rogers' Twitter account. Week 18, obviously, Lions get to bye if they win. The loser is the 5th seed, and they are going to face the Bucks, Falcons, or Rams. We went over this already, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen and why later, but you heard it before. If all 3 wins, the Lions would travel to Tampa as the 5th seed to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 4th seed. If the Falcons wins and the Bucks lose, the Lions will go to Atlanta and take on the Falcons. If the Bucks win and the Rams lose, the Lions would face the Rams in the wild card round. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. I believe that you guys know this already, that Stafford will see the Detroit Lions in the playoffs, right? He's one of 7 teams. I think it works better if the Detroit Lions are the 1st seed, because that is a matchup that is more likely that the Rams would have to come to Ford Field in order to get to the Super Bowl. All roads come through Detroit. So I believe that is the more logical. So I think the Lions are going to win. I think they're going to win anyway, but I think they're going to win based on the fact that I just think they know what's at stake, and Dan Campbell's going to have these guys ready. But I do see a scenario that the Lions could travel. The NFL would like to see this as a NFC title game because the money, the ratings is going to be off the chain ridiculous. I could see this being the biggest watch, the most watched game of the season up until the Super Bowl. And the Lions own the most watched game of the season against the 49ers. Now they're going to own it again. And whatever Super Bowl they appear in, they will own it there as well. So I think that the Detroit Lions are going to get the 1st seed, and I think that they have a really, really good chance to see Stafford in, because right now the Rams are shaping up to be the 2022 Detroit Lions. I'm sorry, 2023 Detroit Lions. They'll have 2 home games, most likely at home, depending on what happens. So if Philly gets upset, the Rams could have 2 games at home. They're going to start off at home. They can get that divisional round at home as well, and then we wouldn't see them into the NFC title game. You might not want to believe it, but it writes itself. This is so I think that the Detroit Lions are going to win this game against the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're going to be there and have home field advantage, and that's going to be back-to-back NFC. There's so much at stake, man. I wish we could just fast forward to Sunday. We still got all Friday, all Saturday, and all Sunday to watch this thing. So let me know what you think. I think the NFL, I think the seeding is busted. I really do. I don't think a team that is under 500 should be playing in the postseason. And here's the thing, too. That team is probably going to get bounced. First round, it's going to get bounced, right? So, I don't know. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. NFL will never change the seeding. But what do you think? What do you think is going? I'll say this. Like I said, the biggest thing for me is the fact that there's so much at stake that we haven't had. Lions have not had if the Lions win this game, that means that it doesn't matter who you are. The Eagles, the Rams, the Bucks, the Falcons, the Commanders, the Vikings, or the Packers. They have to come to Ford Field. That is great. You also have a free game to the Super Bowl. That's what we get back-to-back NFC North championships, and we have home field advantage. So that's what I want to see. It'll be such a letdown not to win this game. And that means that if we would have to go through Minnesota. But I tell you what, this is what the approach that I'm going to make. If the Lions win this game, then I'm going to try to go to every game. If they lose this game and they have to start on the road, I am going to put all my money toward the NFC Championship game so I can be there again. So I wouldn't go to any playoff game, and I would just hope that they make it to the NFC title game. And if it's either going to be the NFC title game, is either going to be in Detroit or Minnesota. It's going to be one or the other. Whichever one it is, that's where my money is going. If it's Detroit, then that means, and the only reason that I would go to both the divisional round and the NFC title game is because it's one less game. It's one less game to pay for. So I can't pay for travel to Tampa. I can't, all that stuff. So that's what I'm going to go. If the Lions get this first seed, I'm going to go to both. If they start on the road, I can only go to the NFC title game. That's all I can do. I got to be there. I have to watch the Lions clinch their first Super Bowl appearance. That's, if this was the second or third time or whatever, then it might be a little different. But I had to see them. I had to see them win their first division title. I had to see them win their first playoff game at Ford Field in 30 years. I have to see them punch their first Super Bowl ticket for a chance at least. So that's my goal. If we get the number 1 seed, I'm going to both games. If we get the number 5 seed, I'm going to the NFC title game if the Lions get that far. I do believe that this is going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. I think that we're going to win, but it's going to be tough because I don't know if the minute I strongly believe that the number 1 seed is going to make the Super Bowl. I truly believe that. I think it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and whoever the number 1 seed is. I could see, however, the Lions being that team that starts on the road and just bullies their way to a Super Bowl. I could see that. But it's going to be tough, man, if it's the Minnesota Vikings and the Kansas City Chiefs, because I believe that statistics and numbers, the numbers favor the number 1 seed. So I cannot wait. And like I said, I got 2 full days to get better, and I'm going to be nursing myself back to health. As a matter of fact, I was going to go shopping today, but I think I'm just going to fall back and just order something because I want to make sure that I can go. Real talk. So anyway, this channel was made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You can be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. It's going to be a big day on Sunday.